Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Mr. Vice President, I'm going off script again, I know, but I just want to personally thank you. We've been through some stuff. We've gone through some of the most complex military operations this country's ever conducted, and your steady hand and your leadership during those was a great source of strength for me. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your character. Thank you for your selfless service. Thank you for commitment. Thank you for being a mentor to me, Mr. Vice President.
It's called the swamp. And you know what happened? And you know what I did? A big favor. I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. Nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it. Did I get that one right? Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government, while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
This is a president of the United States who is a danger to the Republic.
America first.
He knows he's an illegitimate president.
The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans.
The great Trump recovery.
America will never be a socialist country. I will fight for you with every breath in my body.
Russia, Russian, pro-Russian, Russian, Russia, Russian, 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 the Russians, Russian,
Russia, Russia, Russia.
And I will never, ever let you down.
A dangerous virus is spreading rapidly in China, and U.S. officials are very worried that it could come here.
This is really the worst attack we've ever had. This is worse than Pearl Harbor. This is worse than the World Trade Center. There's never been an attack like this.
The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. What they're doing is using COVID to steal an election. Together, we will make America strong again. You know what it's about? Fraud, fake ballots. We will make America wealthy again. They are trying to steal the election.
Now, under the leadership of President Trump, we are fully realizing President Kennedy's prescient view of Special Operations Forces.
We will make America proud again. And watch, please, those mail-in ballots. We will make America safe again. And in millions and millions of ballots, their vote is under what they thought they needed. They're dumping more ballots in there, okay? And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you. God bless you. If we are right about the fraud, Joe Biden can't be president.
Congress, the chair declares the joint session dissolved.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Devolution Power Hour. I'm pretty pumped to be back from GART. This is my first stream since then. How are you doing, Brady? Right? You couldn't handle it. You're a little sick.
A little sick. It's customary for somebody on the Power Hour to have the sniffles, and I suppose it's me this time.
Yeah.
I'd say it was the traveling, but it's really that I just don't sleep, and I don't sleep even more when we're at a GART.
Yeah, there's one time when you were, I don't even know what to tell, but yeah, I will. We were down at the bar at GART, and we were like all hanging out chatting, and they closed the bar down, shut all the lights off, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go to bed. So I go upstairs.
In the dark.
Yeah, I go upstairs and go to bed. Then I realized I forgot the box of lanyards downstairs for the people that were coming the next day. And so I was like, well, if Mrs. Bright finds out that I left that down there and something would have happened to that, I would be dead. I would be murdered. So I was like, okay. And this is like a half an hour, 45 minutes later. I go downstairs, and in the pitch of darkness, it's burning bright, drinking and chatting with fellow GART attendees. And
that's racist of you, because you're saying it was like, oh, you couldn't tell that Cam Cooksey was there. Is it because he's black and it was in the darkness?
I couldn't see the skin color of any of the people.
Okay,
I could just hear you talking. And that's it. And I was like, whatever. And so I just
he might have me beat. He's one of the few that it was a good challenge.
In terms of what? Like who talks more?
The only one who's talking. Yep.
Oh, well, I mean, he was at least entertaining.
He was entertaining. But yes, that was too much. It was up late. I mean, it was probably 4 a.m.
Yeah, the next day you missed the first panel, and then
I was in the room. I was watching.
No, you weren't. But when I asked you later, it wasn't your panel you're speaking on, so not a big deal. Yeah. But when I asked you later, you were like, I was up till 4. No big deal. The next night, you were probably up similar. But anyway, that's besides the point. GART was a blast, though. I had so much fun.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, even those anecdotes when we run ourselves ragged socializing, but that's what it's all about. Yeah, I mean,
in the chat.
This is what we always say it to people. I mean, we say like the whole fun of GART. The panels are great. I mean, it's the coolest thing about the panels is that it's a different format than any of our shows. I think when we originally were doing the GARTs, we were sort of thinking like we do a power hour, of course, but we were thinking, yeah, we'll just kind of do the shows on stage. But that's not what it ends up being. It ends up being a totally different vibe in a good way, different mix and match of hosts. But it's all about people hanging out, everybody just realizing each other are real. And I know everybody who's been on stream has probably been saying this this week, but man, it's so encouraging and cool, not just for Badlands, but for all of this, that like at least more than half of the people who came up to me all weekend were not brand new to Badlands, but certainly new to GART. And I mean, I think 2/3 of the attendees, if not more, that was their first one, which is a great sign.
Yeah, we had a ton of first-time attendees, and everybody had a blast. At least they told us they had a blast. They could have been lying, I guess, but it was a great time. It's always fun getting together with the Badlands people, like the people we hang out with all the time through the internet. It's nice to see them in person, but then also like putting faces to the chat names,
right?
It is also great because now we have like inside jokes with Cooksey and all these other. I mean, it's just
I see Hugh Mann in the chat. Our token Brit, token black guy, and token Brit. Those are just some of my favorites.
We are the new DEI network.
Yep.
We should just rename it.
We're going all the way the other way. But yeah, it was great. And we had a 21-year-old in attendance. We're always looking for the youngins, but not in a creepy way. And that was cool. Kid wearing his American.
How I would have phrased that.
American flag suit. So
yeah, that was really cool. Was nice he wasn't even our youngest attendee. We had a couple. I think we had a 15-year-old that came with her mom, and but she watches our stuff and enjoys our stuff too. So I think I have a call. I guess I may not have responded to him, so I apologize if that's the case. But I believe I'm going to be setting up a call with the 21-year-old to game plan some ways we can reach some of the younger crowd. But yeah, it was great. A lot of good feedback. A lot of people were not in love with G Money over the weekend.
I'd say it was some sort of mad genius on John's part to open GART with Soft War and put G and Patrick on stage, but I don't think it was. I mean, I guess that's full embrace of accelerationism, just acceleration theory. But you know what? It's there's the tension that results in it and everything. Some people get secondhand embarrassment. I'm one of those. As much as I'm comfortable on stage or in person, everybody who knows me knows I'm comfortable arguing. I actually am very uncomfortable watching other people argue. I don't really like it.
I would also argue, sorry to interrupt, but
No,
not
go
that
ahead.
sorry. I would also argue you're not that comfortable on stage. Like you're comfortable when you're talking on stage, but you're uncomfortable with silence on stage. And it's not just
Yes.
like prolonged silence. It's just like any millisecond of silence is what makes you uncomfortable. But you're absolutely
Gonna
right.
work on it. Gonna work on it. We all got things to work on.
Yeah.
That's one of them. You know what it is? I said this in a previous, I think I said this after the first GART. On the street, it's so funny because in some ways the streams are less interactive with each other, I mean, with the co-hosts, because we're not in the same place. But I can constantly see who I'm talking to.
I know.
And it is weird on a stage. You have to get used to it of not having the immediate social feedback, like social cues feedback of the other panelists. So you're just looking at the person asking a question. And for me, it like puts it's like a feedback loop where I'm like, well, this person's asking me a question when they're looking at the whole stage.
Yeah.
And so it's about like training yourself to pause, be like, all right, they're asking 5 people a question.
Yeah. But going back to my genius of putting Patrick and G Money on the first panel, my thought was it's either going to be like an explosive way to kick off GART, or if people don't like it, it's only going to get better from there. Like for those
True.
people. So
True.
that's where my mind was. And
It's also
for people who ask, let me put this out there. When we come up with the panels, I have everybody in Badlands who's attending pick their top 2 panels, and I try to put every single person on their top 2 picks. Like I have them rank their top 4, and I try to give everybody their top 2 picks.
it's the secret.
Those 2 panels that they were on together just so happened to be both their top 2 picks. And so it's really not my fault.
I will say usually G Money is the one on Seek and Destroy missions, but at GART I'm not going to blame him. It was Patrick that was on Seek and Destroy missions in terms of where he wanted to go. But you know, the other thing about it, I know you talked about this at GART. There are people who are just like a little uncomfortable, but then there are the people who really get upset and get their feelings hurt about people disagreeing and everything. And it's sort of it's like the Bitcoin proof of work thing. The funny thing about opening with a disagreeable soft war panel of Badlanders is that it's the ultimate proof of there is no idea gatekeeping or anything here. So it's sort of like if we get to a point where people aren't allowed to do that, we've lost something. Not saying it should be every panel, but it would be a sign that we've kind of lost something if we're not able to do that.
Yeah. And I think I opened up Saturday. I think Friday we opened up with the Q panel. But anyway,
Oh, right.
Q,
You're
Q
right.
panel. Elon Musk tweeted something about a Q drop tonight, which was crazy. I mean, hilarious.
No. He said he doesn't know what a Q drop is, but everything else sounds good.
Yeah, that's insane because he definitely knows what a Q drop is. But
well, it was also funny because I gave Stormy shit in our Badlands chat, and then immediately he got like what I would say was an actual hit. Because, you know, Stormy's the Q guy, and he does the hits, but sometimes Stormy thinks everything that happens in the world is a hit on a Q drop. So today he was like, I said the other day that if Bitcoin hit an all-time high on November 20th, it would be a Q hit. I was like, Stormy, Bitcoin has hit an all-time high 7 of the last 10 days. So,
yeah.
But then he followed it up by being like, yeah, we asked Elon for Q comms a few nights ago, and then boom, there it is.
To be fair, we have a lot of people in Badlands who are like, I think everything's a hit. So, but the Q people, they're a little more, they look for that stuff more than I think most. But anyway, yeah, guys, GART was amazing. I had so much fun. You actually still can get the virtual tickets and have access to all the replays of all the panels. So those will remain on the website. The tickets for Vegas are probably going to go on sale this week, but it'll be very soon. Like tickets, the pre-sale, let me say this again, the pre-sale for Vegas tickets. So if you have a ticket to Myrtle Beach, whether it's in person or virtual, you will have access to get tickets sooner than anybody else. Maybe the end of this week, maybe weekend, maybe early next week, but it'll be soon. And then later after that, we'll open it up to everybody else. And Vegas is going to be bumping. I feel like a lot of people are. I've seen a lot of messages of people who are already saying they're like for sure coming to Vegas. So probably sell pretty quick. We'll see.
The one interesting thing to me about Vegas is by Saturday, is anybody going to be at the first panel? that will, ironically, the funner Friday is, and given where it is, could there be fewer people on Saturday? We'll just have to see how the audience deals with that place.
Yeah, and funner's not a word either, bro. But anyway, let's get to our sponsors real quick. And we have a few of them for tonight's show. I think we have 3 for tonight's show. So we haven't had that many in a while. So we're gonna get through those and thank them. And then we're gonna talk tonight about some of the appointments, because we haven't I've been unplugged for a while. And I was trying to catch up these last couple of days. It's not easy, but so some of the appointment stuff, some of the freaking out and weird stories around some of these appointments, we'll get into that. And we'll also relate that to what I think is coming to there's a picture forming, and we touched on this a little bit at the DPH live on Saturday and a little bit last week, but it's almost like this next phase of the operation here, the reconstitution phase, we're getting glimpses of it. And so I just want to explore that a little bit tonight. We're also going to talk about World War III happening, maybe get into a few other stories which are pretty interesting and Devo adjacent, like Trump using executive orders and whatnot. There's a bunch of different stories that I have lined up that if we get to it, we can touch on. But anyway, before any of that, do I even have these loaded? I think I do. Okay. Let's first get a word in from these guys, American Financing. The Fed has dropped interest rates, so you need to call my friends at American Financing today. Now is the perfect time to consolidate debt and reduce your monthly expenses. A lot of us have been forced to use credit cards because of the ridiculous prices at the grocery store, power, and even childcare. The debt is really expensive, with credit and card rates being insanely high, but with mortgage rates dropping, now is the time to wipe that debt out. American Financing is helping homeowners just like you save over $800 a month on average. They are even closing some in as fast as 10 days. If you start today, you may delay 2 mortgage payments. There are no upfront fees. To find out how much you can save, call American Financing today, 866-889-5154. That's 866-889-5154, or visit americanfinancing.net/devolution. NMLS 182334, NMLSconsumeraccess.org. All right. And then we also got Field of Greens. The biggest sale of the year at Brickhouse Nutrition is on. This is your chance to save a ton on all their doctor-formulated products. One of my favorites is Field of Greens. Right now, you'll save 30% on their best-selling fruit and vegetable super drink that promises your doctor will notice your improved health or your money back. And honestly, it's kept me so healthy, guys, that I haven't even had to go to the doctor. I've been pretty darn healthy. I don't want to say that's part of the guarantee, but it's been that way for me. Just my personal experience. Love the product.
If you drink Field of Greens, John promises to not go to the doctor.
Yeah. Disavow anything he says tonight. And Lean, by the way, another product from Brickhouse Nutrition. Doctor formulated weight loss phenomenon of the year is on sale. The reviews on this product are incredible. It's a total game changer for folks trying to lose weight. Everything's on sale right now, and there's literally no better time of the year to buy these products. Visit fieldofgreens.com. Use promo code VIP. That's promo code VIP at fieldofgreens.com. And then, should I do our final sponsor right now, or should we save it?
They're already down there. Everybody knows. Everybody knows what the surprise is.
Oh, dang it. Okay, so the surprise is ruined. So I'm just going to do it now. That way we don't have to worry about it.
Right.
And yeah,
give them all their flowers at the beginning. And then we can give them their flowers again.
Okay.
Later on.
Here's all the flowers, guys. CB Distillery. Let me guess, your medicine cabinet is crammed with stuff that doesn't work. You still aren't sleeping. You still hurt and you're stressed out. It's how it was for me, especially having to deal with burning bright. So I cleared out my cabinet and reset my health with CBD from CB Distillery. It's been a real game changer. CB Distillery's targeted formulations are made from the highest quality clean ingredients. No fluff, no fillers, just pure effective CBD solutions designed to support your health. In 2 non-clinical surveys, 81% of customers experienced more calm. 80% said CBD helped with pain after physical activity. And an impressive 90% said they slept better on CBD. So if you struggle with a health concern and haven't found relief, make the change like I did to CB Distillery. With over 2 million customers and a solid 100% money back guarantee, CB Distillery is the source to trust. You can get you a 20% discount to get you started. Visit cbdistillery.com. Use promo code JON for 20% off. cbdistillery.com, promo code John. All right, there's the flowers. All good. So let's talk about some of these appointments. And I got this pulled up. I love this little chart from the Washington Post.
Tracker.
I hate the Washington Post. But yeah, tracking Trump's cabinet and administration. And the last time we did a show was Wednesday before leaving for GART, and there were 4 names on here. Okay. And one was like speculative. I think it was Rubio for state. The rest were kind of speculative. So we'll go through some of these. And there's a couple that are interesting and a couple that are like, why isn't Whitaker on here? I thought he was announced.
Have you seen the sub? I don't know if this is a real fake sub narrative or if it's a pure exclusive to Ghost fake sub narrative of Hulk Hogan potentially being in line for Senate.
I take pretty much everything Ghost says with like a major grain of salt because
he's excitable when it comes to Trumpomania.
It's not just that; it's just it's the Jews, and
that's true, yeah.
And I just can't trust that guy.
Yep. No,
just kidding. Yeah, I have heard rumors about the Hulk stuff too. I would be surprised, man. Like,
well, then we would just know that it's full. We're leaning fully in.
Yeah.
To the idiocracy.
Yeah, I'm still trying to like wrap my head around this stuff because our conversation last week was very much okay. Trump is doing this. He's picking loyalists. And these are people, many of whom have presidential aspirations of their own. They've really hitched their wagon to Trump and the party and the America First movement, Make America Great Again. And so if they were to betray him, they're like done in politics. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that's a good thing for if you're going to have this agenda where you're going to come out in here and like totally clean house and totally revamp our government. You want people that aren't going to like subvert you in any way.
Yeah.
But then this is like getting borderline, like a Hulk Hogan would make it cartoonish a little bit, I think.
That would be Senate, not cabinet. I mean, but yeah.
Laura Trump, though, that would be interesting.
This is also not updated, I've noticed.
Why not?
Because we're missing commerce. It has been filled. Education has been filled.
Okay, well, I did want to subscribe to. Let me try this one. Is that better?
There you go. Yeah. We got, what about FCC? Is he in there?
Russell Volt is back. That's a good one. He was last admin. But okay, let's go through these one at a time. JD Vance, VP, I already know that. Marco Rubio, this one is interesting to me. Like, he doesn't seem like a Department of State type of guy, but I don't know him personally. He's had some, especially in the debates going back to 2016, there's been some friction with Trump. I've thought it's like an interesting thing about the Senate pick, and now we have DeSantis having the pick of who's going to replace him in the Senate.
Yeah,
I think this is an interesting way to like get him out of there, get Laura Trump into the Senate, and then you can just fire Marco Rubio, and you just added somebody else to take his seat, which is pretty awesome if you ask me. But who knows? Some of these picks, like we're gonna have to wait and see how they actually operate. But to see like if it's actually a good pick or not, because I just cannot picture Marco Rubio as being the Secretary of State. I don't know.
It's funny. I mean, they've conditioned us to such a degree. I don't even necessarily mean in a bad way, but to expect rug pulls, and those rug pulls are not always bad. Those rug pulls are sometimes, we talk about the Scaramucci model, that a lot of people in this world think that there's certainly a lot of method to the madness Trump employed in that first term, putting people in, taking people out. Some of them kind of went silent running. Some of them probably were not the right guy for the job, and they were put there temporarily. So Rubio is definitely sort of the Scaramucci model signal that most people immediately looked at, because even though there's some other picks that had people scratching their heads a little bit initially, I would say most of the other ones, people were kind of scratching their head because maybe they didn't know who it was. You and I admitted that we didn't know a lot about Pete Hegseth. I certainly knew very little about Pete Hegseth, but it wasn't like his name set off negative alarm bells.
Can you define the Scaramucci model as well?
Well, I think basically the template would refer to putting somebody into a position specifically to achieve a short-term outcome in order to then swap them out for somebody more desirable that you actually want in there. And that's what I think you're kind of describing with Rubio. You know, the idea being, okay, is selecting Rubio opening up this domino effect that you just mentioned, like a cascade where you've got, okay, you've taken him out of a Senate spot that allows you to fill that Senate spot. He's this proxy as Secretary of State. Then you can swap him out, put somebody else in. I don't know if that changes the confirmation process either. Probably doesn't, right? You swap somebody out.
Well,
if you've picked somebody and then you swap somebody in.
Technically, you're supposed to be. They're all supposed to be Senate confirmed, and that's where some of this drama is coming at too. And we'll get into a little bit of that. You know, what happens if the Senate doesn't confirm, or Congress and Senate don't confirm these picks, whatever. That can make things difficult for Trump. And there's talk about recess appointments that might take place, and there's this whole like almost behind the scenes battle still going on between Trump and MAGA. And then like the enemy, the deep stakes, they're going to try to thwart Trump in any way possible. Right. But yeah, the Scaramucci model, that's because I think he served, didn't Anthony Scaramucci, he served as the White House director, communications director for like a week or something back in Trump's
I think he's the shortest. And the term, now I don't know which preceded it. The Scaramucci model is directly referenced in the Q drops. But it was also referenced by John Oliver, the television host. And I was just checking on who said it first. May 21st, 2018, John Oliver referred to the Scaramucci model. Looks like John Oliver said it before the Q drops. The drops were in 2019. It might be worth.
Share your screen.
Yeah, let me. This video is not available. Damn it. Here, let me.
Can you please stop swearing? You have little ears.
John Oliver.
Yeah, this is curious because if this is what it's named after, I'm assuming it is. But he was fired because he, verbally attacked members of the Trump administration in a discussion he thought was off the record. Like, obviously, if you're working for Trump and like a director of White House communications and you talk shit about people in Trump's administration, you're going to get fired. So I am curious where that came from. I know I hear a lot of people talking about it. I never honestly asked where the definition came from. So while you're doing that, I do want to briefly mention Hegseth pick. Okay, so I absolutely love this pick for Secretary of Defense, and it's right in line with like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to come in. He's going to totally revamp the health in this country. He's going to get rid of all the bullshit. He's going to make America healthy again. Much in line with Matt Gaetz, I think, which we'll get to him next. But he's going to come in. He's basically he's not going to put up with any bullshit. Okay, Matt Gaetz is Attorney General, and I think he's actually going to prosecute people that we've been wanting to see prosecuted. You have the Department of Doge, right? Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy. That's an interesting little imaginary fake, but not fake. Cabinet position that is going to come in here and clean house. Pete Hegseth is in the same model there. He's going to come in and he's going to clean house at the DOD, get rid of all the woke shit, fire all the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I picked up his book at the airport on the way to GART. I'm only like 20 pages in maybe, but the dude is spot on with all the woke stuff and what is wrong with the military. He makes a great case for it. I recommend you guys actually get the book, War on Warriors. I love the pick. Absolutely love the pick. So did you find what you're looking for?
Well, I was trying to find the original video. You can share my screen here. So John Oliver mentioned the Scaramucci model on his show, but the video that they are referencing is no longer available. I didn't know if it was this one. I mean, I don't want to subject our viewers to John Oliver, but
let's do it.
Yeah.
643, a former hedge funder and Long Islander of the frickin' month for 643 months in a row. Scaramucci's nickname is The Mooch, which already sounds like the name of a cow STD. So neither one of us has been with anyone else, and yet somehow I have the mooch. Is there anything you need to tell me. Anyway, Tony Mooch wasted no time cracking down on leakers, going on CNN to explain his philosophy with an unexpected reference.
Why don't you honor the job? You remember Joe Paterno? What would he say? He'd say, act like you've been there before.
Right.
Act with honor and dignity.
Whoa. It is a little loaded quoting Joe Paterno, particularly in the context of everyone needs to keep their mouth shut. And the crazy thing is, that whole act like you've been there quote has been attributed to multiple coaches, including Vince Lombardi. And yet, the Mooch still picks the guy with a child sex abuse scandal and dismissal section on his Wikipedia page, which is just weird. If you were pregnant and someone asked you if you knew the sex of the baby, your response would not be, like Casey Anthony once said, it's a girl. And that Paterno line would have been the craziest thing Scaramucci had said this week, until this.
White House Communications Director Anthony Scaramucci unloaded on Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, calling him an expletive, paranoid schizophrenic, a paranoiac.
And this was the most disgusting thing he said. I'm not Steve Bannon. I'm not going to blank my own blank.
Suck my own cock. Scaramucci said, I'm not Steve Bannon. I'm not trying to suck my own cock. That's what he said to a reporter on the record. There is just no point in anyone being coy about this anymore. In fact, Scaramucci's remarks were so extreme, they put news networks in a tricky position. But leave it to Gayle King on CBS This Morning to cut right to the chase.
How is that even physically possible, number one? And number two, when you hear something like that, Bob, are you offended? Are you offended? Are you disappointed? Are you saddened by it?
She's talking to Bob Schieffer. And nothing in his half-second...
So I don't know if that is the clip where I didn't hear him say Scaramucci model. I saw Ghost in the chat saying this and a few other people. I think, the one interpretation of Scaramucci, especially the fact that he's fighting with everybody, he was fighting with everybody, and John Oliver even references he's going after leakers, etc. That's one way of looking at it. Certainly possible. There's other Anons who don't think that he was ever really Trump's guy, but you could still install a guy that is kind of a wrecking ball who's not your guy, because ironically, the people that they do like end up being sort of the signal, right? Like you could use them as counter signal, a Judas Goat style. It's interesting though that the way I would frame Scaramucci model, I think in the context of Anons and the drops, it sort of expanded to include something like you're saying with Marco Rubio. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that Scaramucci was installed specifically to sniff out leakers, specifically to go after specific targets, and he did that in 11 days. That doesn't necessarily mean that's the same model for everybody in the future. I think of Scaramucci model basically as somebody being installed for a short period of time for a specific reason that otherwise doesn't look like it makes sense, right? Just a very broad model. And
I get that, but I don't think Scaramucci fits the definition of that, the Scaramucci model, just like based on, like, I'm trying to figure out where he was before this. He was appointed to a couple lower level positions, then gets in there for literally 10 days just to talk shit and leaves. But regardless of that, what you're saying is Trump has done that many times, like with many people in his previous administration, where they'd appoint them, they'd serve their role, they'd get out of there. John Bolton, get out of there. I mean, it happens all the time. So this says, just for reference here, the drops are more direct than I thought they were on this. Scaramucci model, Swamp Runs Deep, DNC servers, Scaramucci model. You've got a lot of references to it, whereas 11 different posts. Well, that's interesting. 11 days, 11 posts. Scaramucci model, temp hire by design. When was Scaramucci hired? Blockade removal, Scaramucci model. This one is interesting. The Scaramucci play, temp hire to remove embedded untrustworthy staffers. Spicer, Priebus. Temps can be very dangerous to those who are targeted. Think Whitaker, that's actually relevant to right now. That is interesting. Who reread drops regarding Scaramucci model? Who did Scaramucci remove? Effective. Optics important. What occurs post-installed blockade removal? I mean, I think he replaced Sean Spicer, didn't he?
And Priebus, right? Or did he not get him?
I don't think Priebus. Priebus was in a different role, I think.
Yeah.
Priebus was chief of staff for a little bit, for the first 6 months of Trump's presidency.
Right. So I guess that's the sort of the wrecking ball type of thing. And I think when it's referencing optics, if you've got somebody, if we follow that line of thinking and say that it could be true, Scaramucci was sort of a bloodhound that was put in there to shake it up and go after specific targets. He did it in a very optical, very public manner, very bombastic, and then Trump has to then remove him because of the sort of to retain some shielding in terms of the political zeitgeist, but it's one option. It's also interesting that Scaramucci is I don't know if he's, just jumped on board, but he's big in the Bitcoin space. Some people think that that's signal, but who knows?
Here's a question. So Trump's first term, we saw a lot of, a lot of people in and out, like his cabinet positions. There's a lot of overturn. There's a lot of just changes with personnel. Do you think we will see something similar this second administration? Like, do we think people will see the Scaramucci model often?
The one I'm looking at is Rubio.
Yeah.
But man, when these announcements were first being made, especially when before GART were doing the Hegseth kind of dive, I did think that was my first impression. These people seem so off the wall and out of the blue that it felt like Scaramucci. But I really don't think that now for some reason. I think it's that the more I've looked into each of them, the more I've seen other people look into each of them, I do kind of see the second Trump administration as highly narrative. Doesn't mean it's not also actual, but you mentioned the Department of Government Efficiency. I think that's the most obvious example of something I think is more narrative than actual, meaning there's actually people making the government more efficient. I don't really think it's Elon and Vivek that are in charge of that. I think they're the figureheads of it.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's true, I don't really personally believe that Pete Hegseth is going to have a massive role in national defense. I think I think a lot of these picks are meant to be representatives to that narrative. A lot of those clips that you and I played before Myrtle Beach on Hegseth, it wasn't about, we think he's going to go in and do these things. I think it was more about he's going to push the right talking points Trump wants pushed in terms of this is what we need to do to straighten out our military. But ultimately, I don't think that these people are in charge. I don't think that they're going to leave American health up to RFK Jr. I think they're going to use him to expose a lot of things and then kind of set direction, and others then do that. I know that that's what department heads do, but I'm talking more on a narrative level. So if that's the case, which is a big if, why would you need to swap them out? I guess I sort of can't come up with a reason that you would swap them out unless you thought that they were going to be a problem.
Yeah, so Ash made a point in the chat. I see Ash, 18-month transformation program. These appointments have specific role for 18 months, in my opinion. And I think she is referring to Trump said, or maybe it was Elon, I don't remember which one said they're going to have like 18 months to get it all cleaned out, right? Like to get rid of all the departments that are inefficiently in our government. And that's what I see happening here. Like the cabinet that's formed, and this might even be a good time to talk a little bit about the phase of continuity government and what they mean, because what I see happening here is the cabinet that Trump is picking right now, there's a lot of names on here that are wanting to go in and completely like almost wipe the slate clean. And I'm not necessarily saying they're going to create a new system of doing things, but they're going to at least get rid of all the bad shit that's in there, right? That's Gaetz, that's RFK Jr., that's Doge, like, and who knows, maybe all these people, Tulsi Gabbard. They're going to come in here, they're going to kind of clean house, they're going to get rid of all the shit that they see as the bad shit. And then from there, they don't need to necessarily be the ones that rebuild it back into the form it should be, or rebuild it back at all. They may not even be the most effective at overseeing this stuff. They may not have the background to properly run this shit. I don't know, but they might know what is exactly wrong in there. Like RFK Jr. might not know how to run the Department of Health, but he knows what needs to be exposed and getting rid of.
Right.
Those are possibly two different things. So let's look at this real quick, unless you have something else on that.
Well, just one point on it would be the funny thing about the Department of Government Efficiency specifically is, a lot of us, myself included, are certainly pushing the idea of it being largely narrative. The funny thing about that is it's not like that's a big limb to stretch out onto. Keep in mind, they are saying that the DOGE is an advisory council. I mean, they're not even claiming it's a department. I mean, they're calling it a department, but they're not even making a claim that these guys have that authority. They're telling everybody, essentially, this is a narrative deployment. These guys are advisors. These guys are meant to go get the public mandate, sort of boost the public mandate for reform, and then bring those recommendations to the people that actually make the government more efficient. I'm just wondering if we apply that template to actual cabinet positions, we could see that across the board.
Yeah. Somebody in the chat wants to see you and Chris tag teaming press secretaries, and I feel like you should reword that statement.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, maybe like world wrestling wise, that's what they mean, I bet.
I'm gonna need some clarification.
It has a different connotation. Maybe that's just in Boston, in the Boston area. I don't know.
But okay, let's look at this real quick, guys. This is from an article I wrote back in, I think, December of 2022. Does devolution require Trump's return? I hypothesize yes, it does, and here we are. But this is the continuity of operations phases and the implementation. So you get it ready, you prepare for it. Don't know exactly when that was done, but you have a lot of the moves at the DoD, 13961, a whole bunch of shit that went down. The event threat is the thing that I would say it's the election theft. It could be them actually just going through with it and all the stuff they pull on J6. We don't know for sure. We may never know. Hopefully someday some of the stuff gets declassified. But on January 20th, and maybe even January 19th, because that text message that went out to all the employees where it said, hey, continuity of operations or the COGCON plan was lowered and something was going on.
Yeah.
But that's activation. And then you get into actual continuity of operations, which we believe has been taking place since Trump left office on January 20th, right? Some sort of COG plan going on. Okay. The next phase is reconstitution. So we're like somewhere here at the very end of continuity of operations or the beginning of reconstitution. It's like Trump is, outlining his reconstitution team. But there's a definition I want to look at, maybe even two of them. But I think it's kind of interesting. I think when we look at these cabinet picks and compare it to the definition here, and I don't think this definition is perfect either, but we can we can just chew on it a little bit and see what we think of. Reconstitution. Actions taken to reestablish an organization or the capabilities of an organization that have been destroyed or severely damaged. Also refers to the period in the post-attack environment when military activities reestablish non-critical missions, functions, organizations, resources, and services as they existed prior to the crisis event. This is the military pamphlet, so it's military specific, but this gives us a good idea. Reconstitution is a combination of personnel, facilities, and IT systems and equipment actions taken to rebuild or replace the staff, facilities, and communications and IT capabilities as soon as possible after an event. Reconstitution may continue for an extended period of time until normal operations are resumed from the original or replacement primary operating facilities. So thinking in terms of what Trump is looking to do, like come in here and almost revamp the entire government, and which should make it much smaller, significantly smaller. It almost feels to me, and I know I've said this before, but it looking at his cabinet picks, it feels like he's building a reconstitution team. They're going to come in after the stolen election, they get back in there, and they're going to strip all the bullshit away. A lot of the bullshit that is put in there by the people that stole the election, even though some of those people were there before Trump even got elected, and they've been doing this for decades. But this is his opportunity now, after getting back in there, to almost wipe the slate clean as quickly as possible, figure out everything that's wrong, or as much of what's wrong with our government as possible, and then set it on a path where we actually have like a legit government that's operating in our favor, a smaller government, and hopefully free and fair elections. If that's not done, I'm going to be real upset. But this is what I feel like he's doing. He's establishing his reconstitution team, and that's what we see unfolding here. A lot of these picks that we've been going over, we haven't even gotten through like any of these, but it's got that vibe of we're going to strip away all the bullshit, and then we're going to go from a clean slate, and that's like the reconstitution slate.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, even though I talk about it from a narrative framing perspective, I use the term cipher when referring to people like Trump and even a lot of these picks. That's not to belittle it. It's merely to suggest the whole devolution operation. I would say I certainly believe that they knew that was going to be necessary going in. So in other words, I don't think that devolution was a reactive move that was made, right? Trump was seeding it heading into the 2020 election. It seems that they planned to go underground, institute the devolution operation. The big question that we've been asking, or one of the big questions we've been asking for a couple of years, and you for longer, is why? And one of the answers we came up with was the awakening term, right? The Biden administration, the second term that Trump's kind of having now, but he doesn't want the results. What was that all about? It was all about, in my view, garnering the public mandate. On your show forever, we've talked about it's the awakening term, right? To trigger the awakening. So it's all just to say, I think that the diagnosis phase that you're talking about, the sort of, they can go in here and figure out the rot, figure out what's going on here, figure out how to make the government better. I think that was done a long time ago. I think they came onto the stage knowing, or having a really good idea of what that means. And that the first and second Trump administration, meaning the Biden term, was all about, how do we show the people? How do we get the people to organically start calling for exactly what you said, which is smaller government? And then, yeah, that last point would be what all of these picks, well, the vast majority of them, I can't necessarily say this for Marco Rubio, but pretty much every other pick that I've dove into, especially the people I didn't know a lot about, if you're looking for one thing that ties every one of them together, it is frequent and across time narrative deployments and calls for making whatever they're involved with smaller. We played the clips with Hegseth talking about going after the Joint Chiefs. It made me think of the Kennedy era. Howard Lutnick is one that I've personally been digging into quite a lot, and I was rooting for him to get picked. So I'm really pumped to see that. We've got I don't think he's on this graphic, but FCC chair Brendan Carr. People were probably looking at a lot of his quotes stretching back 5 years where he's talking about completely dismantling big tech. So to your point, everybody here, it's all about cutting things away rather than adding things to.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're seeing. I couldn't agree more. It's the Devo term was creating the buy-in to do everything that Trump's about to do right here. So it's going to be good.
Yep.
We got some trolls in the chat. So guys, you got to tag the trolls so I can remove them. I've removed a couple now. So, but let me know.
Do you want to talk about any of them in particular?
I do. The Matt Gaetz one is interesting right now because there's a lot of talk about this. No, I think I might have a story pulled up, but I might have to go find it.
I just had one on Axios pulled up. The recess appointments thing.
Well, not that. It's there's apparently some scandal that is like everybody's freaking out about Matt Gaetz. I had a thread here. Oh man, did I lose it? Oh, it's also interesting we don't have a FBI pick yet. Like we have a lot of these random picks, but we don't have the FBI one. There's rumors that Mike Rogers might be on there, which I think is a weird one to throw out there. A lot of people are talking about Kash Patel too, which I think would be a great one.
Yeah,
as long as he doesn't use his powers to destroy me.
Yeah, take the name back once and for all.
Yeah. Okay, let me find. Okay, here's like this might not be the best clip to show, but it's a clip.
I've been able to get firsthand knowledge from the Department of Justice and FBI once they came out and acquitted Gaetz and actually dropped their investigation into him because they found that all those allegations, as you had just stated, were actually unfounded. You know, I really would appreciate it if networks would cover the fact that this was also tied to a $25 million extortion scheme against Matt Gaetz and his father. And to furthermore, you know, I find it interesting that these actual allegations come out at peculiar timing while he's being nominated to be the Attorney General. To be clear, I do think Matt Gaetz is going to be an incredible Attorney General. I think this baseless smear campaign, frankly, is abhorrent that it's happening to someone like Matt Gaetz, who's done so much to fight the government corruption. And there's a reason why President Trump won not just the popular vote, but also the electorate vote. And frankly, people trust President Trump's judgment more than any news outlet out there.
There's some like sex allegations against him and a minor or something, and the DOJ didn't even they investigated, they didn't prosecute. Like there's nothing there. But now it's kind of resurfaced again, and it seems like it's a panic move for sure. Like they do not want Matt Gaetz in there. And if I were them, I probably wouldn't either, because like of all the picks, like we've talked about Matt Gaetz a lot over the last like couple of years, because every now and then he rears his head and he does like the most pro-Trump, and sometimes on the surface level, like people would react to it and be like, oh man, he's just a clown. That's such a clown thing to do. But when you look at what he's doing, he's just like the narrative time bomb and the megaphone even for Trump in the House. We've said that so many times. Like he was the one that was behind the stonewalling to get Mike Johnson back in there. Like the whole McCarthy being removed as speaker and Mike Johnson getting put in there. A lot of that had to do with the Freedom Caucus, our favorite caucus in the land. And Matt Gaetz is behind that. And a lot of people didn't like that. A lot of people didn't like it when he went after Durham, like pretty hard. But hey, he's a firecracker and he takes no bullshit from anybody. And if there's one person that like, I wasn't even thinking of Matt Gaetz as an AG.
Yeah.
But when he got announced, like, holy fuck, that's a great pick. I love this pick.
And that's another example of the fact that we were so surprised. Not that Gaetz had a role in Trump 2.0, but what role it is. Because you're looking at qualifications, and this is what's ironic. The arguments that the media puts forth, besides random invented scandals, is he doesn't have any qualifications for this, right? Like that's what they're putting for a lot of these picks. That they're being put in, the roles they're being put into, they don't have a ton of experience in, or at least compared to previous administrators of those roles. But that lends even more credence to the idea that these are narrative roles. And Matt Gaetz, to your point, is the best signal of that. We talked about on this show for 2+ years, what is Matt Gaetz' role? It is to be Donald Trump's voice in Congress. I think you and I were, maybe this was in a chat, we had found a clip from one of our shows, and one of us had said that, like word for word. When Matt Gaetz speaks, Donald Trump's voice is coming out of his mouth. And that was the whole point, right? We knew it was the whole point. We knew that he wasn't actually going to get these things accomplished during the Biden administration, or else the Biden administration gets credit for it. But then think of one added bit of signal there, and I would say very encouraging signal. Even if Matt Gaetz is just a big narrative deployment and he's meant to signal boost, to your point, he's the biggest and most effective signal booster of any of these picks in terms of his narrative deployments. And where does Trump put that guy? Justice. So that's really encouraging, I think, for the Q community, for Anons, for Trump people in general, because he put the firebrand guy that's going to get the most. Trump is telling you with the Matt Gaetz pick, whatever else happens, he wants the American people to be paying the most attention to the Department of Justice going forward.
Yeah, maybe that's definitely one way to look at it. It's also, one of the things that I think Trump is highlighting here with the second term of appointments is the only qualification that you need is basically testicular fortitude. Like, as long as you have the balls to take heat from the media, because you're gonna, whatever media is left, you're gonna take heat from people whining in Congress, but it doesn't matter. Like, as long as you have the balls to get things done, like we can actually see some legitimate change in this country. So Matt Gaetz has testicular fortitude. You know what? Speaking of that, one of the guys at GART this weekend, this is so funny. We were just sitting there chatting, and I don't even know how we got here, but there's like a group of us, like, and ladies were there too, and he's just like, yeah, I only have one testicle.
It was eating him alive.
Yeah, and I was like, what? And he had cancer, so he had a testicle removed, and he's still popping out kids. So talk about testicular fortitude. But I just had to give a shout out to One Nut Jesse. He's my boy.
And then there was one.
Anyway, I do want to play this clip too. Ash made a point in the chat that it's an old case that was brought against him, an old situation, but there are apparently new allegations. The left is really good at that when they need to try to smear somebody and try to prevent them from being selected or voted on or confirmed. They'll come up with a new allegation on an old story to try to dirty the well. But check this out. This is on The View. This is hilarious.
How could you nominate someone with allegations of child trafficking across state lines and having sex with a 17-year-old? My understanding further on in the interview, they discussed the fact that once he finds out that she's 17, he stops having sex with her.
Sonny, you have a legal note.
I do have a legal note. Thank you, Whoopi. Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations, calling the claims, quote, invented, and saying in a statement to ABC News that this false smear following a 3-year criminal investigation should be viewed with great skepticism. That DOJ investigation was closed with no charges being brought.
We'll be right back.
So like she had to read a legal disclaimer minutes after she totally made it bullshit. That's amazing. And think what that means. Yeah. How often has the media like thrown out totally bullshit claims over the past 4 years, even longer? But now they do it to Matt Gaetz, who's about to be the AG, and they feel the need to minutes later correct it and be like, just kidding.
They got hit with a cease and desist
immediately,
like on air. Yeah.
And they know that Matt Gaetz would probably follow through with this shit if he's AG.
And we're seeing that brings up, one of the trends we're seeing is I saw a lot of people talking about the very, very strange reports of a meeting between Donald Trump and Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, and then how they did that whole broadcast being like, hey, we're going to try to cover things fairly. And like, we had a meeting and we haven't always agreed. And, and I saw terms like hostage video being thrown around, capitulation. One of the terms I'd said before the election was hibernation theory. But this looks like more than that. This looks like more than hibernation theory. This looks like
fear.
The legal letter that she basically just read is a hostage video. That's like, I am doing something because I have to do this thing. And it's pretty obvious to people.
I think this is out of fear. Like they know that their days of just totally slandering anybody they want just to try to, for whatever reason. I mean, there's so many reasons to do this shit, but their days are numbered now. Like they can't do that anymore. And that's a good sign. That's a great sign.
They're caught in a bunch of pincers too, because it's not just, the biggest pincer or the biggest vector of attack is the legal. Well, you just mentioned with Matt Gaetz, right? If we have a Department of Justice that actually holds the media to account, it's tricky to do, but you can hold our media to account. The key word in the drops that's said quite a bit is the word knowingly. I do have a journalism degree back when I thought that was a good thing to have, and that was stressed to journalists. Like, you can say whatever you want as long as it is not determined that you were lying. Yeah. If you know you were lying, you're fucked, and they know Gaetz will go after him. But they're also getting screwed on a few other sides. People probably saw the news today that there's sales going on, there's mergers going on, MSNBC could get absorbed, like there's all these assets of these media companies that might get split up and redistributed or shut down entirely. The money train's over. And then we've got the FCC chair who's talking about going after these guys, Brendan Carr, going after big tech, going after the media. So they are really surrounded right now. They're either going to have to turn into actual news organizations or they're completely screwed.
Yeah, man. I want to do a couple more. I just want to point out real quick. Sorry. Burgum, not in love with it just because he was the governor here. It's not like he's a bad governor. I just don't like his ties to Bill Gates, but Trump seems to love the guy. You want to talk about Lutnick?
Yeah, I love Howard Lutnick, guys. I would highly recommend. I mentioned this as an aside a few weeks ago. Go on YouTube and look up Howard Lutnick's sit-down interview with Anthony Pompliano. It'll come up pretty quickly. He's a Bitcoin guy, but the interview is, if you're not into that kind of talk, they barely touch on Bitcoin. They just say that Lutnick is believed to be one of the voices that has supposedly encouraged Trump to talk about this Bitcoin strategic stockpile. But the real interesting stuff with Lutnick to me is he gives this whole story about 9/11. He runs Cantor Fitzgerald. He's a true rags to riches story from Long Island, like a poor kid. Both his parents died young. Uncle abandoned him. Worked his way up Cantor Fitzgerald. Almost all of his company, including his brother, got wiped out on the top floors of 9/11. He was there at ground zero. He got, hurt, but he wasn't in the building. And man, it just makes me think of the Trump videos from ground zero that a lot of old school truthers were talking about at the time. Like, weird, Trump doesn't seem to think that the official story of 9/11 adds up. Then we've got one of his old-time friends that supposedly had nothing to do with his first administration and his second campaign. Now he's running big parts of his third campaign. And then the other thing is, one of Trump's big sort of campaign messages that he amplified heading into this term is all about abolishing or rolling back taxes and replacing them with McKinley-style tariffs. If the public narrative is to be believed, that is all Howard Lutnick. That is the Lutnick playbook. So this guy is not just a commerce secretary. Like, this guy he was rumored for Treasury. That's going to go to somebody else, obviously. But commerce is the guy who's going to be carrying and representing economic policy abroad. And that is going to be huge if any of our theories of this rebalancing are correct. So I think Howard Lutnick is a huge signal, and I don't just think economically. I think there's some 9/11 revenge tour stuff coming back around. We'll never be able to prove it, but I don't know. Serendipitous, to say the least.
Yeah. So that would be like the tariffs and stuff. Trump's tariffs policies. Yeah. Who would be responsible for making Bitcoin the strategic reserve? Is that Treasury?
That would be Treasury. And then we've got Cynthia Lummis, if I'm getting the name right. Lummis. Cynthia Lummis is a senator from Wyoming. Now, she is the one who has officially proposed, I forget the name of it, SAB 21, one of the SABs, which would be the framework that supposedly Donald Trump would sign to put that into effect. What's really crazy about Cynthia Lummis' proposal is she's not just suggesting a Bitcoin strategic reserve. She's suggesting making the Federal Reserve sell off its assets to buy Bitcoin for the Treasury. And if that doesn't have hashtag, Chris Paul drainage written all over it, I don't know what does. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the Bitcoin stuff is just so interesting with all the talk going on lately. I know not everybody loves the Bitcoin stuff we discuss, but I would highly recommend, if you haven't, at least get yourself a River account, badlandsmedia.tv/River. You don't even have to, this is what I love about River. Like, there's people that have cash, they don't know what to do with it. You can put your cash into River and let it sit there, and they will pay you 3.8% interest in Bitcoin. So you don't even have to use your money to buy Bitcoin. They'll just pay you interest in Bitcoin. Yeah. For those people that are scared and unsure and not sure what to do, there's no better option.
They also do consulting and all that. If you guys don't want to go through, I know some people are afraid of G-Money and he bites and everything in terms of consulting. River does consulting, and they're our sponsor, right? But there's a reason they're our sponsor. The one thing that a lot of people don't know, that I didn't know until recently, that separates River from other custodians of Bitcoin. People, I believe in self-custody, right? We believe in this with gold and silver, but River's a custodian. River has a publicly available, their blockchain, their wallets on the blockchain are publicly available. They publicly disclose all of the Bitcoin that they hold on their balance sheet. So what that means is, when you're buying Bitcoin from other exchanges, it's like a bank. Does that exchange have the Bitcoin on their balance sheet? Does it not? You're trusting your faith to that. With River, it's a publicly auditable stockpile, so they do not sell you Bitcoin that they do not buy and put in their reserves. So it's not, self-custody is always the safest, but if you're not going to do that, you want to custody with somebody who has the Bitcoin that they're selling.
Yes, and I've personally spoken to a few people over at River now, great people. The reason we talk about this so much, guys, these guys aren't even the sponsors on tonight's show. I just actually believe that Bitcoin has a role in our future. We can debate, maybe it's going to be a gold back exchange. I literally had a debate with G-Money 2.5 years ago, gold versus Bitcoin. Yeah. I was on the side of gold, and I've come so far, and it's because of when you actually listen to what G-Money is saying, listen past all the noise, because sometimes he has some noise to him. And maybe G-Money isn't the guy for you. Go study it elsewhere. The technology here is astounding. You guys need to be educated on this, because Trump himself has talked about a Bitcoin strategic reserve. If that happens, other countries are going to want it as a strategic reserve. If they haven't already, it's going to be a scramble to get
Game theory. Yeah.
the most Bitcoin. Like the scramble has already started. That's why the price is going up. It's like almost at 100K. It's 96.3 or something last I checked. It is going bonkers right now. And it's not too late. Like that's another hesitation I see from people even people like GART. I thought, I was going to get into it, but I didn't now. Now I think it's just going to go up. I'm going to wait till it comes down again.
It's not too late. Nobody is too late.
It may not crash again, guys. You don't know. And it's not about the money aspect of it. It's you want as many sats as you can. It's not too late. Go to get a River account, badlandsmedia.tv/river, and at $10 is all you need. $10 at a time.
I see people in chat saying, let the arrest begin. MicroStrategy is no accident. Anybody who follows financial markets, we were talking about this at GART privately at dinner. The MicroStrategy play with Michael Saylor is breaking the collective brains of Wall Street because they're all sitting there going, hold on, I can just buy Bitcoin, put it on my balance sheet. Bitcoin's price goes up because I put billions of dollars into it as a publicly traded company. My valuation goes up. I can issue more debt, I could take out more debt, buy Bitcoin with the debt, and rinse and repeat. They're calling it the infinite money glitch because it is. And the funny thing is, Saylor is telling every company in the world to copy him because he knows this is what's so crazy about the infinite money glitch. There's no losers in the situation. It's like the first game theory run where there's no losers. If other people mimic Michael Saylor, they're all increasing the value of the Bitcoin he holds.
Yeah.
While they're all getting it, right? So he's buying a dying currency, the petrodollar, to buy a real currency. And then I do this every time. I'm trying to get better about it. I've been corrected by the Maxis quite a bit. When we say Trump is talking about a strategic Bitcoin reserve, he actually used the term stockpile, not reserve. And stockpile really makes you think of weapons. So you use reserve to refer to money and commodities. You use stockpile when you're referring to something else. So that's got software written all over it.
And this is the part where it gets interesting too, is like we've talked for a long time about the system we're in right now, the debt-based system that has enslaved like everybody in America since 1913 or 1930. I don't remember the date, but Trump's got to fix that. Like there's a lot of things that if Trump is truly going to give the government back to we the people, give America back to the people, like we need our elections back. We need to know that we are actually electing the people that we elect and not just we can't verify any of this shit. It's the same thing with our money. Like there's so many different angles to look at this, but if Trump is truly going to do what he says he's going to do, the financial system is definitely one of those things. It is not going to be the same when he's done with this. If we're right about it, and he's being honest about what he says he's going to do. Now, with that said, we don't know for sure what it's going to be, but the signal with Bitcoin is real. And I've never been an advocate. Like I don't even personally have all my eggs in one basket. I have some silver. I have some gold. I think you do too, Burning Bright.
Yep.
But Bitcoin is where I've like definitely shifted my focus. I started out very small, like mostly silver and gold, because like I said, I debated G money and I thought gold was a thing. It is shifted. Like I now think it's going to be Bitcoin, and that's where I diversify more heavily. But you do you, but I'm going to feel like we did our audience a disservice if anybody in this audience doesn't have Bitcoin by the time that shit really takes off, because we've been talking about this for 2 years. I actually got a call from one of our guys at Rumble today asking about Bitcoin and our experience with River and whatnot, because if you didn't notice, over the weekend, Chris Pavlovsky said, hey, I think I'm going to put Bitcoin on my balance sheet. And Michael Saylor responded like, hey, let's talk, and all these things. Like they're talking about doing it and they're going to start getting into the Bitcoin stuff. But he's calling to ask like our experience on it. And we were chatting. I was like, yeah, man, we've been talking about Bitcoin for like 2 years. We had Michael Saylor on Badlands Media like a month and a half ago. And he like had no idea. Like we've been, I believe we've been ahead of the game with this. Like we have most things. And I feel like we'd be doing our audience a disservice.
I want to play this. I want to play this video. This is a 2-minute video of Saylor. This is Saylor's most famous exchange ever, and it's kind of interesting in terms of triggers some people.
We'll move off of Bitcoin, guys. But
yeah, it's just interesting. Hey, if it should get your jimmies rustling in good and bad ways.
Strategy's average purchase price was a little less than 16,000, and right now, the price is about 33,000. So you've more than doubled your investment, and most likely by the end of the year, we're probably going to be in some kind of bubble, I imagine. So the return will be even higher. And you've said that you didn't buy.
So she's saying we're going to be in a bubble. This is at 30,000.
The Bitcoin to sell it. But would MicroStrategy ever take some off the table when you sense the market is at a top and then just buy in later when there's another correction? Or do you just plan to hodl through all the cycles, and weather those, whatever 80% downturns when the crypto markets are in a bear market?
Yeah, again, I just disagree with your characterization. I don't expect an 80% downturn. I don't think it's a speculative asset, and I don't think you can quote unquote take money off the table. You're speaking like a crypto trader right now, right? Yeah, I mean, maybe you're doing it just to represent their interest, but I don't see the world that way. I think that Bitcoin is sound money. It's the technically superior asset class compared to the dollar, the euro, the peso, the bolivar, compared to a stock index, compared to gold, compared to silver, compared to everything you can conceivably buy. It is technically, thermodynamically superior as an asset. So when you say things like that to me, and maybe you just do it just to see what I'll say back, I just imagine you preaching to me in Argentina while you're asking me if I'm going to sell the dollars and buy pesos back again as the peso sleeps from 20 to the dollar to 40 to the dollar to 80 to the dollar. Or if we're in, Venezuela. I mean, you think a Venezuelan company is going to quote unquote take some money off the table by selling their US stocks and their US dollars to buy back into local currency. So then, in Zimbabwe, you think they would take money off the table, right? The point is, if you have the superior asset, it's going up forever, Laura. Forever.
So that's what many maxis say when they have reached, when they are speaking to traditional finance people who keep asking about their Bitcoin strategy.
Yeah.
It's going up forever, Laura. Or if you think it's, and again, as John said, it's only if they're right. But man, as Satoshi said in the white paper, if we're right, you might want to get a little.
Yeah. And if you thought G-Money was intolerable now, just
right.
wait. It's only...
You haven't even begun to see my power.
His level of intolerability is also going up forever. So just get used to it. But we love G-Money. If you guys knew who G-Money was as a person, even though he's
a teddy bear.
He's a teddy bear. He's a good dude. Anyway, okay, let's maybe we should do a couple of the boosts and then we'll get into World War III because that's on the table now. Biden, as the outgoing admin, is actively trying to get us into World War III, or at least that's the story we're being told, and we got to discuss that a little bit and kind of parallel that with Trump coming in and what Russia's saying about peace talks with Trump, and it's pretty interesting things. So before that, let's do some of these Badlands boosts, and don't forget to hit that thumbs up, everybody. All
right, we have fixed the boost thing that was going on a few weeks ago. So these are to the whole company, which we're going to catch up on. Terry 314 sent $100 over a few weeks ago. Thank you so much for keeping me sane the last several years. Love DPH, Liberty Den, Daily, The Brief, The Storm. Looking forward to GART virtually. Would love to attend in person one of these days. Love to all Badlandia. Thank you, Terry, or Terrace. What we got? Lincoln Park Press, $35. Badlands, Patel Patriots played a central role in my sanity since the last election. Can't thank you enough. Long list of Badlands hosts I could name. You're all amazing and smart. Thank you. You know what? Thank you. Escaping Communism, $100. Want to be a monthly supporter since ever, but I'm a boomer. I can't find a way to do it. I escaped communism in Cuba once to find me fighting against the same regime that made me abandon my culture, friends, family, and soil. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Well, we are glad to have you here. Good stuff. All good tidings to the whole company. $17.77. Great that Trump won. There's tons of cheating. Must be rectified. Elections cannot go on after Election Day. This theft of seats in Congress is ridiculous. This must be a mistake. There's an $1,100 one again. I'm sure you guys caught that.
Well, who's it to?
The whole company, unless it was on purpose.
I'll reach out.
November 7th. CamFam. Thanks, John. You're the news now. Special thanks to G-Money and Pip for getting me up to speed with Bitcoin. Brad
So
said it
maybe it is
best,
real.
covering the news. Yeah, maybe. Maybe it's with Sats. Covering the news is so much more fun with Trump in office. Thank you, Kathy. We've got Dan Bacon, whole company. Bummed the way Kyle left. Maybe things behind the scenes. It's a long slog the last 4 years. We should embrace winning. That being said, the 2028 candidate will not have the appeal of Trump. Fixing election systems are the #1 priority. Thank you, Dan Bacon. What do we got? MLRA Lalo, $300, whole company. Thank you all thank you for all you do to keep my sanity. Been watching since day one. Watch all the shows, but don't chat. Not good at multitasking with that. Need to pay attention. Looking forward to watching GART this weekend. I hope you enjoyed it. JC Bird. We missed JC at GART, unfortunately. Had to back out, I guess. But sent $100 over. Happy birthday, Jordan. Great first day of GART. Thank you, Badlands. Oh, maybe he was just late. What? Was JC Bird there?
No, JC Bird was not there.
Okay. Maybe virtually. Kate Parks, $100. Thank you for all the great work that contributes daily to my growing awakening. Much appreciated. And then Sheila K23, whole company, $500. Thanks for all you do. Is there a list of Badlands meetups for each state? Do you know how that works, John?
Yes. I'm going to be having a conversation with a gal. And her name is Bunny. She was at our conference. She did a great job kind of organizing and taking the lead on some of this stuff. And also got to give a shout out to, hold on. I want to make sure I get the name right. Yeah, it's Lynn from the Missouri, Kansas, the MoCan group. When it comes to these meetups, there's a Telegram group. So if you come into like our Badlands Telegram chat, or like the GART events, or even my Spitballers Telegram chat, that might be another good way, and ask like, hey, how can I get connected to one of these groups? Somebody there will get you directed to Bunny, and there's some privacy too. So they get you into one group, and from there they take you to your local group. But it is amazing. I had a whole map. I wish I had my backpack down here, but a whole map of like, there's got to be like 20 or 30 of these groups all over the country right now. And that's the whole reason we do these GART events, is to build that community, and you guys take that community and build it out even further where you're at. And it's amazing to see. So yeah, these meetups going on are fantastic, and got to thank those that are leading the small groups and into the bigger groups, and then Bunny and everybody who's kind of taking the charge on that. It's been great to see.
We have a few from the Power Hour to catch up on. Silverback, I don't know if we got these ones, but $50. Great show. Hope to see you boys in Vegas. It's been since GART 1, but y'all are still killing it. Fully agree this election win is amazing, but we definitely need a major fix to our election system going forward. Hope we see you in Vegas, Silverback. I remember you, I think it was Cocoa Beach. What do we got? Angler in Exile, aka Dan. I know you sent a bunch over and really appreciate it. We explained the whole situation post a couple of weeks ago on the Defected finale last week. So we would just recommend that people who, are talking about Kyle, etc. We talked about it as openly as we could there. Feel like just keep going into it. And I know these are old messages. Don't want to be disrespectful, etc. But thank you for the support. Wanted to acknowledge that you sent those over, and they were kind messages. So thank you. Milk from Cows, $50. Right thing to do. Let's pray they repent and see a better future. What do we got? Daniel Bacon. John from New Jersey. Oops, this was the wrong one.
Are you like struggling to read right now or something?
You know what it is? I search for Wednesday, and then sometimes it's somebody that uses the word Wednesday in a post, and it's not about this show. So always driving 79, $50. Been watching Badlands Media for about a year. This is the first time boost. I just want to say how much I enjoy the show and the realness of everyone on Badlands. I'm wondering what you guys think about Q Post 2472. Devo proof, maybe?
Check it out. While you're doing that, I want to show you. Okay. Ash sent me the map that we have of the Badlands groups that are up as of GART Myrtle Beach. Check this out.
Wow.
We would have more electoral college votes with this map than Trump got, I think.
Massachusetts starting to show up. There was a whole gaggle of Massachusetts down in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
So that was cool to see. I think maybe we rug pulled them a little bit because they didn't know we were going to Plymouth just a few months later, but that's how we got them.
Yeah.
Bag them and tag them.
Be it both. Yeah. We do not have a North Dakota one, guys, I know, but I cannot be the one who starts it. I can't be the one. It can't be like officially affiliated.
Let's wait until we have a sizable public mandate from all 6 people there.
Yeah.
And we
need one of you 6 to start it for me. But no, this is like, it's one of those things. Just warms my heart, guys. You guys are amazing. This is so cool. But we got a ton of great groups out there, and they meet like once a month, maybe more, maybe less. I don't know, but they're out there. So
they could be plotting they could be plotting to overthrow us. This is the thing. We need insiders.
No, this is what we want. It says here to join a group, use the official GART chat to request access, and the group admins will be tagged to add you.
Tagged. The
Q
drop says, "We knew then, we know now. This time we have government control. Boomerang suicide." This is a Chelsea Smith affidavit link.
You gotta be done. We don't.
No, we're not. I was reading the Q drop.
Okay, but we're getting to the World War III topic in a little bit, guys. For those who just came on, we're just
JBA 512, almost done, almost caught up. JBA 512. These are from a few weeks ago. We were at GART. JBA 512, $47. Thinking about how long this has potentially been planned for, have you looked into when Trump registered the MAGA trademark? Have seen something going around showing 2012. Do not know.
That'd be interesting.
And then a couple more. Bum Ling, $10. Can I buy a GART virtual ticket after the event is over to watch? Yes, John said at the beginning, you can do that. And then last one, SOS GBA, Patriot, Mississippi, $50. First time donor. This is more so paying a fine to get out of Badlands jail. Banned from the chat. Patrick has put me in by mistake. The actual troll is still amongst us. Patrick is too flamboyant and emo to wield this type of power and should read to us only.
I mean, it's hard to argue with some of what you said there, but hey, if you guys ever get banned from the chat and you're not like fag and not a troll, if you come into one of the chats and just let like spitballers or the GART chats or whatever and say you got banned and say you want back in, we can typically do it. We do have some Badlands people with itchy trigger fingers who like at any slight provocation will ban people. So just let us know and we can get that sorted. So apologies, but yeah, you can get GART virtual tickets and have access to the streams. I want to point out one more thing. Last thing before we get to the next topic here, because this is a request from a lot of people at GART on how to like help spread the message. Like, oh, you need business cards that people can just like scan the QR code or whatever. We had some there. They're up on our website. The one thing I wish like we could send these to you guys, and like, but there's no real good way to do that. But they're on sale on our website. You can order business cards, and I believe this just goes straight to, not even sure. But I don't believe this is like through us. It's through the people who make the business cards, and they'll order it. And it's a great way to spread the word. Oh, also on our website at the very bottom, we have a new contact us. If you have like any thoughts or whatever, mail, anything, it's on the bottom of our website. So you can.
I was yelled at to get a PO box by our marketing team.
Yep, I got a PO box. It's the official Badlands one. And then also I do see, I'm not the only one who sees, but I do see these like if you fill this out, I get an email. I'm probably not going to respond to most of them, but if they're good and relevant and not mean, maybe I will. So, all right, let's talk a little bit about World War III. There's a few ways we could go with this, because I think there's like an interesting little scenario playing here, because on one hand we have Trump and Russia's like basically saying, hey, we're willing to take Trump seriously about his peace talks, and the other side Biden is like firing or allowing US missiles to be fired into Russia as he's like walking out the door. And
yeah,
it's just kind of funny because, and I shouldn't say funny, I don't know if that's the right word, but to me, like, I'm very skeptical that we are going to actually see a nuclear World War III, but like we've talked about many times, like a scare event thing, I thought it'd come before the election because I thought it'd be one of those things that's like, hey, this is just another reason to vote for Trump.
Right.
But we may see some sort of nuclear scare event or the threat of a nuclear war or whatever coming prior to Trump even taking office, which would make that peacemaker thing look even better. Like Trump the peacemaker is that's a narrative that he wants, that he can expose a lot of things by showing like, hey, like there's no need for any of this bullshit. And the distinction between how Trump operates and is going to operate in the second term and what the Biden administration has been doing and what Obama did before Trump and everything, like that'll be on full display. But here's one of the stories, and if you have anything to add, feel free.
Yeah, I mean the what you just said about the peacemaker thing, yeah, we did. I think a lot of us did think that would come before the election. But hey, then you reanalyze or readjust based on how the game board shifts, and it makes even more sense now. The Trump is the one who's been seeding peacemaker for a long time, but he's also constantly been saying before I'm back in office. So I think that was why a lot of us started leaning toward before the election. But man, this makes from a sort of mechanistic framework, this makes more sense because he's not just going to be civilian Trump. It would be president-elect Trump. And I think, that makes more sense that he's in a position right now where it wouldn't just be this guy who's running for office going and brokering a peace deal. It would actually make sense from a public story perspective, given the fact that he's been declared the winner of the election.
Yeah, I mean, he said that he was going to get the peace deal done, as president-elect before he even took office. It wouldn't surprise me if he did. But, I mean, personally, I think narrative-wise, it would best be done for Trump like day one. Like, get in there, maybe wait a half an hour, give Putin a call, and then like, hey, peace over there, and we're done. But let me read a little bit of the story. And if you have any other stories to add to this, we can certainly go through it. But this is from Zero Hedge. Europe braces for a war as Biden shovels more fuel on the fire. As the mainstream press in the United States continue to obsess with imaginary threats from Trump's army of fascist supporters, the Europeans are focused on the very real possibility that the Biden-Harris administration is going to start World War III on its way out the door. All over the continent, military and civilian authorities are working hard on civil defense preparations and planning for armed conflict with Russia. Sweden sending out pamphlets telling them how to prepare. Norway and Finland are doing the same thing, preparing their populations for nuclear war. Finland has launched a new website advising people on how to prepare for it. It's kind of funny. I wonder how they're trying to switch off ventilation, all these things. Germans are making their own preparations for the coming apocalypse. They're advising companies on something called Operations Plan Germany. The paper is thousands of pages long and classified, but details have begun to leak publicly. For example, it lists all the buildings and infrastructure facilities to be protected for national security reasons. In Prague, network of Cold War era bunkers has now seen renewed interest. I mean, so it's interesting, but also like, would the deep state and these people like legitimately start a World War III? And like, if this is going to be what we think it's going to be with Trump 2.0 here, and Trump's going to like basically put an end to all these, like some of these people are literally facing prosecution and who knows what else beyond that. Would they just like, hey, let's just nuke everybody. If I'm going down, we're all going down.
Well, certainly I think they would, but the ultimate backstop as defined by this show in your research is that they can't.
Yes.
And that is why I think there's really only two ways of looking at this. I know that there's a small subset of people who get really annoyed by turning everything into just a story, like, or as Chris and Patrick would say, fake. And again, when they say fake, they're usually not being directly literal, although sometimes they are. They're usually saying the story as it's being told to you is fake. I think there's only two ways to looking at it. If we accept the framing that continuity of government or devolution has been implemented, right? If you accept that, we don't think that they have the power projection to do this, okay? So you're left with two options. Either the deep state is going to try anyway and fail. They're going to try with clandestine means, some sort of extra governmental apparatus that could possibly do this. Now, that would still fall under national essential functions of devolution. The only way you can think something like, I don't know, call it the CIA, deep state's kinetic projection arm, if they're able to do anything like this, it would sort of rub up against whatever your personal threshold is on patriot control. Okay? So that's one side of it. The side of it that I come onto is I don't think it's possible. I don't think nuclear fallout is possible because of the devolution operation, because of how long it's been set up, and because of how you set me up there. Patriots had to know, like if what we are looking at as this whole plan, this whole Patriot plan, what's it about? It's about bringing power back to the people, but really it's about dismantling a cabal, a globalist deep state apparatus. Are we to believe that they don't think that if you destroy the game of an ancient cabal that has been running this game for hundreds, thousands, whatever you think of years, do they not believe that they would try to press the ultimate red button? They, in my view, the ultimate military strategist, Sovereign Alliance and beyond, Devolution plan and beyond, they would start by game planning for this scenario before they did any public moves ever, right? Like, you don't make any public moves unless you cut off the ultimate red button. That leaves a lot of wiggle room in the middle that we've talked about on this show for years of maybe we've been wrong, maybe I've been wrong in some cases about how far control goes. I don't believe that we're wrong about control when it comes to nuclear war and fallout. So what are we looking at here then? I think we're looking at a narrative. I think we're looking at a sort of narrative translation to Normieville of a scare event. I've believed the whole time that the scare event was going to be literally entirely narrative. And I really believe that the choice to know will be yours refrain in the Q drops. I think there's multiple meanings to it, but I think one of the biggest possible things it could be referring to is a scare event. The choice to know that you're not actually in danger is yours. And frame and support, you think they're really talking about being the frame and support just because of difficult truths? I mean, to me, if a large if the West believes they're going to get nuked, or if the East believes they're going to get nuked, that's a great scenario to have people embedded throughout the world as awakening nodes that can say, guys, chill out. I think we're going to be fine. Trump gets to ride in on his chariot and play the peacemaker publicly. And Putin does, right?
Yeah.
Putin does too. And that's, I think, going to go a long way toward Westerners if he comes in and makes peace with Trump.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I appreciate you finally acknowledging how wrong you often are. That was pretty cool of you to do.
Yeah, every once in a while.
No, just kidding. But you're right. Like, I think one of the main points of the devolution operation was to be the guardrails, right? The baby proof in the house. And one of the things they're obviously going to baby proof is like the most devastating possible outcome that could happen.
Right.
And, there's a lot of interesting things that we've seen over the last like 4 years where, I wouldn't say it's necessarily proof, but it's the circumstantial evidence. Like Trump just leaving the White House on January 20th with the nuclear football. Like, that was pretty interesting. He was one of the first people to not attend the inauguration of the president taking over for him. And instead he left early and took the nuclear football with him. And then every now and then you'd see a picture pop up of Trump walking around at a rally or whatever, getting out of his SUV, whatever it was. And a guy would come out right after him with a little suitcase that looked eerily similar to a football. And sometimes they'd have the same military luggage bag on the thing. And it was interesting that GART this weekend where Kwasi said that he carried the nuclear football. I forgot he had done that.
Yeah, I've forgotten that too.
Yeah. Anyway, but cooler heads will prevail, right? And so the Biden administration are the ones pushing us to the brink of this World War III. And that narrative being there, I think it should be scary for it to be effective. Like, the scarier it is, the more realistic the threat is, the better the outcome for the flip side of it, and the more effect that the narrative is going to have, obviously. But there's
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say there's two stories here where basically Russia is saying, yeah, we're going to listen to Trump. So here's one. This is contours of a Trump peace deal. Kremlin insiders discuss Putin's initial reaction. And there's a clip down here. Russia Foreign Minister Lavrov says Russia is waiting for a proposal from U.S. President-elect Trump to end the war in Ukraine. Every politician who claims to be for peace, not for war, deserves attention. I thought that was really cool.
So they're already relaxing the kayfabe. Remember, just 2 weeks ago, they said, I don't think much is going to change. And now the Kremlin is already saying, well, hey, let's hear him out. Right? Almost as if they already know the peace deal's in place.
Yep. And then on the flip side of this, because remember, this came out after the fact that the Biden administration allowed the use of long-range missiles into Russia, and supposedly they've actually fired some now. Something he hadn't done before, and he said he wasn't going to do. Something he even said, I believe, I saw a clip that there was an impeachable offense. I know I saw a clip of this. Yeah, I'm going to play this. But first, before I even play that, I want to show you this. This is This is what Xi said. Xi on Wednesday, China, urged calm and restraint after Russian President Vladimir Putin issued a nuclear threat and Ukraine fired longer-range U.S. missiles at its territory for the first time. So Xi is like taking the high road and being like, let's calm down here, guys. We're on the verge of potential world peace for the first time ever. Maybe Trump is working with Putin and Xi to defeat the deep state.
The Trinity.
Okay, let me play this clip. This is an old clip of Biden. Quality is not great, but you should get a kick out of this.
The real Joe Biden.
About something you've been involved with. You said that if the President of the United States had launched an attack on Iran without congressional approval, that would have been an impeachable offense. Do you want to review that comment you made? Well, how do you stand on that now?
Yes, I do. I want to stand by that comment I made. The reason I made the comment was as a warning. The reason I don't say those things lightly, Chris. You've known me for a long time. I was chairman of the Judiciary Committee for 17 years, or its ranking member. I teach separation of powers and constitutional law. This is something I know. So I got together and brought a group of constitutional scholars together to write a piece that I'm going to deliver to the whole United States Senate, pointing out the president has no constitutional authority to take this nation to war against a country of 70 million people unless we're attacked or unless there is proof that we are about to be attacked. And if he does, I would move to impeach him. The House obviously has to do that, but I would lead an effort to impeach him. The reason for my doing that, I don't say it lightly. I say it because they should understand that what they were threatening, what they were saying, what was adding up to be, what looked like to the rest of the world what we're about to do, would be the most disastrous thing that could be done at this moment in our history that I can think of.
So I just thought that was funny because he basically did something that he considered to be an impeachable offense well prior. And honestly, I don't even know if it was directly Joe Biden. It probably wasn't. It was probably his staffers or whoever else surrounds him. But it's still interesting. You hardly see Joe Biden. You hardly see Kamala Harris either. It's not like he's back there working on the Russia-Ukraine war situation. Who knows where he's at.
The article you brought up was one of the ones that I had pulled up, the contours of peace, and the storyteller in me. I really like the specific terminology I had to crack up when they're using that. They're using the contours of a peace deal. Russia sees the beginnings of the contours of a peace deal, the shape of a deal. So it's like they're just bringing you along in a paint by numbers approach. But the original sourcing there was in a Reuters piece. Putin ascended in Ukraine, eyes contours of a peace deal. If you guys read the full Reuters piece, I'll put an archive link in the chat there. The contours of the deal, as hinted at by the Kremlin, look an awful lot like what we've been saying for quite a while, which is the original terms of Vladimir Putin going into Ukraine. It's just so funny because to normies, we're talking about the prerequisite of the peace deal's going to get done, right? But what's the shape of the deal going to look like? Normies are going to be told that they're freezing the lines. They're freezing the advance lines. And it's going to be framed as this give and take. It's going to be framed as Russia got something, Ukraine got something, both sides win, Trump mediated the deal, right? But in actuality, Ukraine isn't going to get anything. The two regions, I think it's Kharkiv and Mariupol, I think, there's two regions that they talk about being ceded back to Russia. Those are two regions that Russia did not want when they went into Ukraine. They just have a presence there right now, reportedly, if you believe any of this crap. They have a presence there right now to pin in Kyiv from north and south. The regions they wanted were the four regions in the Donbass. And it looks like the contours of the peace deal that are coming together are for them to get that. So it's literally going to be the deal that Vladimir Putin offered Zelensky the first month he went into Ukraine is what he's going to get. And the media is going to frame it as like, we got a little, they got a little, right? It's like, no, you didn't. He went in, he slammed it down, and he said, this is what I'm taking from you. Pray I do not alter the deal any further. And Trump is going to give that deal. This has all been wrapped up a long time ago. And one other story on it was from the Financial Times.
Well, but before you go on there, I think that's a great that scenario is almost perfect, because a lot of the things that they've been saying as the reason we need to fund this war, which, speaking of which, Biden wants to give a $4.5 billion loan forgiveness to Ukraine. Like, they don't have to pay back $4.5 billion. He wants to give them that forgiveness before he gets in there. But anyway, a lot of the reasons we've been funding this war is the story and the narrative that if we don't, he's not going to stop in Ukraine. He's not going to stop here. He's going to keep going. He's going to keep going into Europe. He's going to eventually come over here. He's going to just take over the whole world. But if he goes back to the original deal that he offered, proving that he's just wanted the same thing the entire time, and the West has been the ones that have like not capitulated to him, like, that makes what the media said about him just total bullshit, which is it's a good thing.
And guys, if you're dealing with normies, like, we might be approaching an area psychologically where you've got another in there. If they ask you about this shit and you've been rambling about it for a few years, keep in mind, even the way we're framing it right now is not correct. It's not that when I said Putin went in to take these regions, right? Tell your normie friends and family when they say, well, that's wrong too. It's wrong for him to take the Donbass. The Donbass voted twice to join the Russian Federation. These are Russians. They're not Ukrainians, right? They've never been Ukrainians. They've always been Russians. They voted in 2014 to the tune of 96% to join the Russian Federation. They voted again, I believe 2018, or it might have been 2021. Either way, right before Putin went in there to join the Russian Federation. They've held 2 referendums. So it's not even like, oh, Putin's going to take the Donbass. It's the Donbass is going to be granted permission to do what they've wanted to do forever, which is to be called Russian again, because that's what they are.
Yep. Okay, show the story you're gonna show. I'm dealing with some shit in the chat here.
So the other interesting one was from the Financial Times. Ooh, look at that was my quickest button press sequence yet with these powers. Ukraine fires British Storm Shadow missiles into Russia. A lot of you probably saw this. Ukraine, escalating. All the stuff we're talking about Peacemaker, it's proxy war. This is disclosing a lot of things to the American people. If you just look at this as a narrative, look at the headline alone. Storm Shadow missiles, right? They're real missiles, or at least Storm Shadow missiles exist, but the naming is funny. It just lends credence to the idea of this narrative war. It's very nefarious. It's foreboding. It's British, so you're disclosing to Westerners proxy war. You led into the sequence by bringing up Biden and how much heat they're taking for trying to get into war before he leaves office. Well, look at this. Now you've got NATO to the normie Western mind. Even if Biden doesn't get his sort of proxy war going, you've got NATO trying to do it in his place. So it's perfect for us. It's perfect for Trump. It's not just putting like Biden and the U.S. deep state on the in the kill box narratively and saying, look at these people. They lose an election and they're trying to get you into World War III on their way out the door. It's also showing the American people, especially liberals, all these allies that Donald Trump has been warning you about are trying to force you into a war to make them money. And it's perfect. Couldn't happen to a worse country.
This is perfect. So I'm curious how the timing of this plays out, because they're asking for Trump's peace deal now, and I think optically best case scenario for Trump is to have this thing done when he gets into office. But it'd be pretty badass too to have it done beforehand, I guess. But we'll see what happens. We're gonna keep eyes on this. But how does the media recover from this? Do they recover from this? Well, it appears at least some of the networks are getting sold off.
Yeah.
Comcast on Wednesday announced that it will move forward with plans to spin off its NBC Universal cable TV networks, including MSNBC, CNBC, USA Oxygen E, Sci-Fi, and the Golf Channel. Of course, the season 2 Firefly reboot might have saved the whole thing. Altogether, the assets generated around $7 billion in revenue. That's insane. They'll keep Bravo, but it's going to try to sell this shit, which is pretty crazy. I wonder if they're going to have any buyers. Yeah. There's been a few stories of this, though, where the media is like, they're basically effed.
Yep. This is one of those things not about the media, but about the business world. I think in 2022, I had written an article called Too Small to Fail. And it was about the concept that even though they're big headlines, when you see corporate mergers going on, like this is Zero Hedge. So Zero Hedge is better they're telling you more directly the implications here. You know, they're more honest about it. These assets being sold off and potentially cut off. But most of the mainstream media doesn't sell these narratives this way. The mainstream media talks about corporate mergers as big money deals. They try to put lipstick on the pig. But I'd argued in that piece, we're probably going to be entering an era where you should be looking not just for companies to collapse, you should be looking for their collapse to be disguised by mergers.
Yeah.
Big companies, this is very simple, but it is not a sign of a healthy business to be taken over by another business. So even though the financial media constantly wants to tell you that 6 movie studios becoming 5 is the result of a big deal happening, what it really means is one of those studios died. That's what it means. So this is a great trend. I think it's only going to accelerate.
I totally agree. The podcast stuff after this last election cycle really got exposed when Trump won. The podcast is the future, at least this kind of media. Anybody can be the media now. It's why we're here, guys. This is why we're doing it. And you don't need the Fox News, any of those people. Fox News isn't going anywhere, but the ones that have been exposed for lying, I think the Fox News might come later, but the agenda behind everything they do, it was on full display, and there's really no recovering from that. And they know now too, like this could be another sign of like a Matt Gaetz getting in there and persecuting the knowingly stuff. Yeah. How many of these people were knowingly involved in a bunch of bullshit? So we'll see. We'll see how this goes, but I'm very curious to see how these things get handled. Like if an Elon Musk and Twitter merge with or buy some of these things for some of the broadcast, like who knows?
Yeah,
it's fun to speculate with, but.
I had one more thought on the that you just jogged with Trump, the timeline of Trump the peacemaker being before he's elected.
Yeah.
We've been wrong about these timelines, right? But here's another big reason that could work narratively. If Donald Trump is the president, that means he's the commander-in-chief, right? That means that him going into a peace negotiation with another world leader has the weight and the force of power projection behind it. And it's not a whole lot different than a president-elect. But if you're looking for another kind of psychological reason to get it done before he's in office, the media would basically have to tell the American people Trump did this with no actual power projection behind him, which would mean he did this purely through diplomacy. So the story would just be a little better. Like, he's not going in there saying, I'm going to do this if you don't do that, even though he could a few months later.
Yeah. It's a great
point. He'd be going in there without being commander-in-chief.
It takes away the peace through strength stuff, which he talks about, and proves that he can actually be a diplomat with this stuff too. And it also, that happening would put a little more weight behind what has been going on behind the scenes. You know what I mean? And maybe that would be more interesting to see, like get a little confirmation of that. But anyway, man, I know you're sick. We got a lot of Rumble rants to get to, and so everybody hit the thumbs up. Also, do you want to do a little promo of your new Sunday show?
Sure. I am going to be doing a Sunday show, 9 p.m. Mrs. Bright made this. I didn't even know she could do this.
She did a good job.
It's pretty cool. So announcing here, don't worry, it's not just gonna be me.
Thank God.
Doing the narrative Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Thought of a lot of different names, thought of getting real cute with it, etc. But I just kept coming back to the narrative. I work it into every show no matter what. But
super
try to talk about other stuff too. This one is going to be really macro. It's going to be, war of stories framing. And the idea here is that I'm going to be joined every Sunday night by a different co-host, sort of Badlands Daily style. It's cool. Before I even really firmed up the idea to do this, or while I was firming up the idea to do this, a rotation, I had a ton of people at GART come up to me and say, oh, what are you going to do on Sunday? And I asked all of them, what do you want me to do? And most of them said they wanted a rotation anyway, that they love the rotations. They love different voices together. So that's what I want to do. And we'll talk about cognitive ciphers. We'll talk about the War of Stories. And I think doing different co-hosts every week is going to allow us to really highlight their individual theories that they've talked about. John's got the devolution, outside of the actuals. John's got the idea of the devolution sandwich. We've got Ghost with horseshoe theory. We have Chris with informational time travel. So we're going to talk about current narratives, but we're also going to talk about just how we approach the info war mentally, how each different person here does it. So I'm looking forward to it. And I think each one's going to probably be a surprise. The first guest is helping me. A hint is that they are helping me with what I think is going to be a super badass intro video. So it's not you, John.
Who is it?
Whoever makes badass intro videos.
I don't know anybody.
At
Who does that? Don't know anybody. Can't think of a single person. Abby?
Yep. It's not Abby, although she does.
Well,
everybody's going to be on there. Everybody's going to eventually be on there. We're going to just do a constant rotation. So check it out if you want. Don't check it out if you don't want. But still check it out, actually.
Yeah, I probably won't check it out, but I'm sure you'll have fun doing it.
Thanks, man. You seem a little upset.
Not at all. I'm excited. I'm excited about it. I just have a Sunday slot filled where I don't have to fill in all the time, you know, just every now and then. Be cool.
And I was like, if I have you on it again, then it's just Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's like
be giving the people what they want.
Just collapses into dust on stream at some point. You will be on it. It's just not going to be according to your will.
Yeah.
You're going to be forced onto it.
We are looking at a couple different programming things here in the upcoming weeks and months. We'll see how they go. I'm actually thinking of adding like a stream myself throughout the weekdays. We'll see. But
oh my goodness.
Yeah. We shall see. I got a few free days in there from home anyway. Like, why not? I like being on camera. But all right, let's go through some of these rants. And again, don't forget to hit that thumbs up. We appreciate that. And I will be trying to monitor the chat. So if you act out of line again, Wild Boar, I will mute you again. Wild Boar acting a fool again.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to?
Oh, I was going to say also so I can press buttons on this stream, but John is running it. I squeaked through 2 years of Badlands without ever running a stream until Sunday night. So if you want to see a shit show, my first co-host, obviously it's Absolute, he's also going to be helping me learn how to use this stuff. So we're working on the intro video, and he's going to show me how to use this stuff so that I don't completely fuck it up.
It's funny. We went through like all the training and stuff for people like 2 years ago when we started, and people just didn't like pay attention to
know
any of it.
Need to know basis. I didn't need to know.
It didn't need to know, but now you do. So no, it'll be good, guys. Make sure you guys are tuning in on Sunday nights and pay attention to the schedule. We'll be making more announcements as we go, as we start adding stuff. Anyway, Tracy with multiple E's says, John, I heard you wanted to burn the book I sent to Zach. Oh yeah, I don't have that. I think Matt. Okay, so Zach comes up to me at GART with a book, and it was a book on conspiracies. And as we were, as he's like showing me, like picking through it and like showing me all the conspiracies that are in there, he's like, "Hey, and check out who wrote it." And it was Mike Rothschild wrote a book on conspiracies. God. And we were like, "Oh,
was he debunking them?"
Yeah, I'm sure. I didn't even go through it. I did look for Devolution. It wasn't in there because it was written prior to when I wrote the Devolution stuff. But there was QAnon references in there, a brief one about the sex cult, all these things, stuff that's been debunked.
Well, he knows a lot about sex cults, I'm sure.
Yeah, but Zach was like,
"Can get any action."
Zach was like, "Well, we should burn this book." And so I do appreciate the gesture and the gift, but yeah, we were going to burn it. But then we asked the hotel wouldn't let us light a fire inside, and so we decided that wasn't the best thing to do. So right now, our head sales guy has it, so I got to get that from him and figure out a way to burn that. No offense.
It's got some bad juju. I wouldn't want that in my house.
No, but if I had it in my house just for a little bit before I burned it, that'd be kind of cool. But anyway, thank you for sending that. That's crazy. I had no idea he wrote that book. John E. Blaze, LMAO, Ellen DeGeneres, DeGeneres has fled to Europe because Trump won. I'm sure connections to Diddy had nothing to do with her decision. Yeah, I don't know if you saw that, but she actually fled.
I did not see that.
Yeah, I wonder who else will flee. It'd be crazy.
Pretty interesting.
1027 GS says, love DPH. Good job, guys. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate the support as always. Fee 2022. I believe Gaetz' dad got sworn in to replace him. Is that true? I have no idea if that's true. Melindy, love him or hate him. Here's an excellent thread regarding the phasing out of the Department of Education. I don't know this thread, but I will pull that up for later. Thank you for sending it along. Oh, it's James Lindsay, and I do hate him, and I will never read that Vegas thread. So
yeah,
thank you, but
I'm not going to
you.
be reading any James Lindsay threads on Sunday nights or any nights for that matter.
JT Neff 23, just human following the Scaramucci model. Too soon. Wish it was kayfabe. Wednesday.
2 years. I don't know if that's Scaramucci model.
Thank you for the rant, though. Keith Higgins, Trump gave away his Secretary of Agriculture nominee during the Rogan podcast. It will be Haystacks Calhoun. Did not know that. Don't know. It's Keith Higgins, so I never know if anything he's saying is like legit or that sounds like a joke. So it's probably a joke. But Keith Higgins sounds like One Nut Jesse is a Lance Armstrong and Hitler fan. See, just that's what I'm saying. Keith Higgins. Thank you, Keith. Duke 7808. Vance is Robin. Tulsi's Wonder Woman. Gaetz, Harvey Dent. Trump, Batman. Still working on the other characters.
I don't like it. I don't like your analogs there. They're all out of sorts. They're all over the place.
JT Neff 23. Feeling guilty. I love Kyle. Wish him the best. He kept me sane over the last 3 years. Been watching since before Badlands came out. Hell of a ride. I'm grateful to all Badlanders. Keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keith Higgins, if Trump wants to add some color to his cabinet, he needs to get Fox's Charles Payne, the money man. Black is the new green. Hasn't that guy been wrong about a lot of stuff?
I guess.
Yeah, who hasn't?
Lunar Hayes. Chat said that all I am is a slot to you now, John. A slot. Like a Sunday slot.
Well, that's not true. You're a co-host on this show.
Yeah. Cake lady. Big jerk.
Yeah, jerk. Lunar Hayes.
I also realized that my secretive description of my guest does fit like half of the people at Badlands.
Yeah, like literally everybody does videos.
Yeah, I'm like the only person who can't do that is me. That's why when anybody does it, I'm like, that's amazing. How did you do that?
Yeah. Like I've done a million. I mean, I don't do the actual video production stuff, but your comment about me not being able to do them was bullshit, fake news.
That's why he was so upset.
Oh, speaking of which, this is crazy. Me and Chris, our AV guy from the GARTs, we've been talking about how to like get more access to the Instagrams and TikTok and do clips, like shorter clips. He found an AI program that you plug in a full episode and it goes through and it pulls the clips out and like you have shortened clips. Like the AI does it for you. It's nuts. Let me see if I can find an example.
AI is getting crazy.
Let me do like here. This is one from GART. I mean, they're not perfect. I tried a couple today and they cut stuff off early and whatever, but this was all AI. Check this out. They're not going to be able to get away. They're not going to be able to get away with it, but I'm honestly expecting the most clownish thing possible. I was expecting the most clownish thing possible on election day. I'm glad it didn't happen that way because we needed the narrative win. I feel that now. I see it now. I get it. But that clownish thing is still like it's still out there, and they're not going to go away silent. Here's another one. I think this one's you.
So what did the AI do? You just give it like a timestamp?
No, you put the full episode in, and it goes through and it just pulls like various clips and it puts it like speeds it up a little bit, I think, but it puts the text on there and everything.
That's crazy. It just picks different exchanges.
Yes.
And it's a one-way filter. It's like a coffee filter. You can't get it back up.
Jeez,
it only goes in one direction. Awakening only goes in one direction. Every rug pull, every shadow government that they tell us about before they set it up is an opportunity to wake more people up that weren't woken up before.
So it's pretty cool.
You like how I cradled the.
You did that a lot, yes, and that was a emotion you're very accustomed to. So no surprise you used that there. Let's keep going here. Lunar Hayes, please read my boost from the 16th. Thanks, much love, you guys. Did we do that? Can you check?
What?
There was a boost from the 16th. Not very specific.
Is it about this show?
I don't know, but it says Lunar Hayes. So
Lunar Hayes. Lunar Haze. Been following since before Badlands. Followed RP78 and Sather since 17 on ScrewTube. Been a truth seeker since 02. Today my family needs help. Brickwall dealing with Shell owned by a hedge fund about to lose home. We do not promote donation links.
Sorry, that's even for our own people. It's just the thing we ran into the very beginning, but I will take a look at that. Appreciate you sending that through.
Yeah, we can look at it, but you got to understand we get a lot of that.
Yep, and if we promote one, we have to promote them all. So, apologies. PGW, John, would you be willing to do a virtual with our Ohio group on 12/1? See 12/1. We've held one virtual and would love to have you pop in for a few minutes. I would love to do that. Let me just check my calendar and see if I don't know what I'm doing that day. 12/1. That's a Sunday. Guess just need to know what time. I don't think I have my kids that day. Gotta figure out what time the Vikings play, maybe.
Check with Mrs. Bright.
Yeah. I don't have my kids that day.
She often knows. John knows more about when he has his kids these days, but there was a time when he was consulting Mrs. Bright about it.
That's not quite
John, they're in your
true.
House right now.
It's not quite true, but
what?
Barely. It's a funny story. Anyway,
This was a joke. Child services. That was a joke. It's a good dad.
S. Morgan, 1965. Should do a GART in Tombstone. Tons of fun there.
Tombstone.
Never
Is
been.
it cool? Is it? Oh, that might have talk about swingy doors.
That could.
That might have it. We could wear spurs and just seeing if anybody wants to be given what for.
We have Deadwood though.
I know, but Deadwood was awesome. I'm looking forward
That's
to
why
it.
we're going back.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait. Texas Jules, if you can't do a meetup, start a Zoom call. You can post the invites in GART chat. If you build it, they will come. There you go.
Shout out to Rise Attire talking about the Christmas sweater in chat. I accidentally stole that.
You stole my.
I don't know if John gave it to me or
no,
not.
I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, so literally just stole it right in front of them, just like humiliation ritual. Accidentally stole that sweater, brought it all the way home. I'll wear it on a stream as we get toward Christmas.
Yeah, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, so badlandsmedia.tv/rise.
And shout out to you guys. You were super cool to chill with all weekend. I feel bad shouting people out because everybody was awesome, and then you don't shout everybody out. You got to go through 300 people to shout them all out. But
yeah, there's so many people deserving of a shout out. But here we go. This is the Badlands Media Christmas sweater. I gave this to him to wear during the stream because he was wearing his typical like extra small women's shirt that was too tight.
I've just I've become skinny fat. That's motivation of how I stopped being skinny fat.
Well, when does the motivation kick in?
It is now, okay? Heading right into Thanksgiving and Christmas is the perfect time to reverse the curse, John.
Awesome. He's gonna look great in Vegas. Can't wait.
Yeah.
But I gave him this to cover up the skinny fat, and I never saw it again. And so, but yeah, it looks. This is great. I'm gonna actually order one of these tonight, and I also forgot to
make
get
up for our blatant theft.
I also forgot to get. Well, no, they gave that to me, and so you didn't steal from them.
That.
You stole from.
Oh,
me.
Nice. All right. Well, then this is fine. This all worked out.
Well, no, it didn't. It didn't work out for me.
Yeah, it did.
But yeah, so get your guys a ugly Christmas sweater, even though they're not that ugly. They look great.
Yeah, they're actually they're not ugly. They're nice.
And on top of that, their other merch, like all this merch is great, but I'm like obsessed with not only the Devolution one, but where's that? The glitch,
the Power Hour one,
the Cyborg glitch.
Yeah.
These are so fucking.
That's
badass.
the coolest. That is the coolest.
Absolutely love those. So I'm gonna order those. I'm gonna keep that open so I can remember to do that right after the stream. Okay, let's keep going. G Fontes 119. UK Storm Shadow long-range missiles were also fired into Russian territory in the past 24 hours or so. None successfully hit any targets. Isn't that funny when they have like all this technology in the world and they can't hit their targets?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Wonder what makes that
Especially
happen.
when we've been supposedly told that some of the missiles have been programmed to do just that.
Yep. Ekim Navilis, do you think that some of the people being picked for positions that are currently in elected spots, Ruby, are being taken away from those positions so true MAGA can be installed in their place? BNS. Yes, that's I've been saying that. Like they're just getting Rubio out of there, getting Trump in there, Laura Trump, and then just fire Rubio. It's perfect. Let's keep going here. Base the Kid. Hey guys, got my new Res Tire Badlands gear yesterday, and holy shit, I love it. Already got some compliments on it today. Every Badlander needs to grab themselves something fresh. That's all. Keep crushing. Yeah, guys, everybody's looking fly in their Rise Tire gear. Get that stuff. It's another great way to support us, is get the merch and spread that message. Keith Higgins, Putin should ask for a demilitarized Odessa region and forever access for their ships to that port.
I'm sure they will get access.
Arwood79 says Brendan Carr as FCC director can remove their licensing for propaganda. That'd be cool.
Yeah, he's a firebrand. That's a big position. When you talk about you mentioned it with Matt Gaetz as the ultimate legal hammer or backstop, but a lot of this stuff starts with the FCC and what these fuckers are allowed to get away with. So, you know, some of these appointments we've talked about with the dismantling of the administrative state. You know, I really wonder if some of these appointments, these guys are almost demolition men. That's how I'm like, even of the role they're in. Like you get in and it's like, use the powers of the FCC chair and then tear it down on your way out the door. That's how I think some of it's going to work. Like, why do we think, one we didn't mention tonight, why do we think Linda McMahon is Department of Education? Do we think it's because she's going to, you know, totally reform the American education system? Or is she going in there to take a hammer to it?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I said earlier. It's like every one of these, it's like they're going to strip it down to the bare bones, and then they can reform everything in Trump's vision or their vision, the collective vision. Yeah, I see Rise in the chat. That's what you're referring to. So Rise also made me a painting, or he didn't make it for me. He had a painting there of like the dark MAGA, and it's fucking awesome. And he gave it to me. I think he's mailing it up here. So that'll be my background as soon as I get it. It's such a badass picture.
Sweet.
Yeah. So thanks, Rise. You guys are awesome. And I will order that stuff right after the stream. VP Nichols. Regarding media sales, isn't Trump Media and Technology Group and DWAC teed up perfectly to take these companies over?
Seizures, yeah, that's interesting. I've still been looking for this sort of disclosure, or DJT stock in particular being used as a way of catching the short selling that's been happening in the markets for decades.
A lot of that
hasn't happened yet, but
Prevost 13, BB, glad you're coming back on Sunday. Should have called your show The Weave. It's amazing how far you guys have come since you started, right?
Yep.
Sure is.
Almost got away with never pressing buttons.
Oh my gosh, this is the craziest username I've ever seen. Help me, I'm glitching. Have you guys given an opinion on Trump's nominee for Communications Commission, Brendan Carr? He's a Project 2025 guy. Yeah, it's funny. It's like, all right, guys, that thing, Project 2025, we said was fake news. It's kind of legit. We're probably going to do some of that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, come on. Like, half these people are Project 2025 people. They're like, we got nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Bunch of psychos over there.
I mean, it is true that Trump himself had nothing to do with it, but yeah. Makes sense to me too. Stack them sats. Nitcoin at 97K. Yeah, it's at 97.6 right now.
During the show, it's gone up about 2,500 buckaroos.
Crazy. And then PJW, we meet at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you got me on Twitter, shoot me a message. Even if you don't, I think I can still get the message. I'll just have to accept it or whatever. But yeah, send it through and I'll coordinate with you guys. So, all right, fam. That's it. Hit that thumbs up. Brad Show. I finally remembered to plug it.
Oh yeah,
Brad Show. Let me make sure I get the name right. So I always forget.
Where we go one, we go all.
After dark. Is
that show's awesome. Brad's always got these he's always got digs. We all dig all the time. But the unique thing about Brad is that when you watch his streams, he can lay his digging process out as he did it.
It's so
which
cool.
Which is super cool. It's like watching a presentation every time he did. And then he's just the best to listen to.
He's so good.
I love listening to that.
He's so good. We got some other stuff from Brad coming out soon. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna raid the chat or his stream now from the chat. So pay attention and go over there. I think it doesn't start for like 20 minutes, but I don't have an outro planned, and so let me get that pulled up, and we might have to do like
Brad has also been helping me with learning how to press buttons in the right order ahead of Sunday.
Nice.
So he will also be on the show in the weeks ahead. The only one who won't be is John.
I think I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But no, I'm going to play an old video that I never ended up finishing. So this is just like a draft of Trump and Biden talking to each other. And we're going to play that as our outro while we raid Brad's stream. So towards the end of this video, wait, make sure you hit the button to raid the stream. And then, but yeah, you guys all have a great rest of your evening. We will see you Friday for the Liberty Den.
I want my children and grandchildren to fully understand exactly what happened and why you couldn't deny
that the election was rigged. Okay, I know it because I have there's so much proof.
There's no clear evidence of that.
And you know that. You're terrible when you say this. Even if you go to the more modern day proof with the many top legal scholars, almost everyone, firemen, policemen, accountants, even lawyers.
The Jews.
What?
I don't mean that.
That was very inappropriate of you to say.
Look.
And an embarrassment and horrible.
I don't think that's necessary.
Let me talk about it without interruption. Right? Bacon is up 5 times.
Yes, our team is talking with them about that. And
the one who drove up the prices was Biden.
There's no evidence of that at this point.
I happen to know.
Oh, look.
This was only after I left that this happened. Now, strategic reserves are at the lowest level they've ever been at. And it's a sad situation. I mean, nobody should be happy about this. I'm not happy about it. Nobody is. It's a very sad thing. It's so bad for our country. It would have never happened if I were president. If this election weren't rigged,